Welcome to Spine Academy. In this video, we're going to review how the neurological components and the structural components of the cervical spine come together. This is an excerpt from a broader course on cervical spine anatomy. If you're interested in seeing the full course, we've left a link in the description. So now that we've spoken about both the musculoskeletal part of the cervical spine and we've talked about the neural architecture in the cervical spine, the spinal cord and the spinal nerves, let's talk about how those things come together. Here's a very nice picture that illustrates not only the vertebral bodies and the disc, but also the spinal cord and the spinal nerves and their close proximity. You can really see how the nerve is right next to the pedicle, right next to the disc in the back of the vertebral body, right next to the joint here, and problems there can cause encroachment on the spinal nerves. Problems in the center of the canal can cause encroachment of the spinal cord. The spinal cord runs up and down or longitudinally in the spinal canal and can be affected at multiple levels. And how many levels it's affected at will have implications in how we treat things as well. The spinal nerves are the branches that come off, one on the left, one on the right, that lead through a small hole called the neural foramen. This is a picture that shows the neural foramen a little bit better. So here you can see the spine is kind of pointing towards me here. Here's the vertebral bodies. Here's the discs in between. Here you can see a very small window, and this is a nerve leaving the spinal cord through something called the neural foramen. Some people will call it the neuroforamen, the neural foramen, or just the foramen. So people will talk about foraminal stenosis or neuroforaminal stenosis to be narrowing of this small window that this nerve is leaving through. And it can be caused, now that you understand the anatomy around it, it can be caused by the discs or some bone spurs up here. It can be caused by bone spurs or kind of arthritic stuff going on in the back there. All of that encroachment will kind of close in around the nerve and cause something called foraminal stenosis. This is a picture that really shows very nicely the spinal column, the ligaments, the discs, and the nerves in a single kind of animation here. One of the things to notice, again, these ligaments that we had spoken about, the spinous processes, there's a very small window, that foramen we just talked about. And what you can see here is that really the spinal column and the spinal nerves are intimately related. So from a numbering standpoint, we talked again about C1 down to C7. Between C4 and C5, you can see there's a disc there, which is the C4-5 disc. We'd spoken about that as well. But what's important to recognize is at that same level, you can see a nerve on one side and a nerve on the other side. That is the C5 nerve. So the C5 nerve comes out between C4 and C5 at the level of the C4-5 disc, and it's numbered that way because it sits right on top of the pedicle of C5. So this is the nerve kind of coming out the side there. One very interesting artifact of this numbering system is that right at the bottom of the spine, between C7 and T1, is a nerve called the C8 nerve. There is no C8 vertebral body. This is a nerve between C7 and T1. The nerve that goes out between T1 and T2 below that is the T1 nerve. So this is almost like an extra nerve, but it's just a byproduct, an artifact of the way that these have been numbered. When we talk about dysfunction at a disc, we talk about, again, C4-5. It has two numbers in it, can be a little bit confusing. Vertebral bodies, just one number, the C3 body, the C4 body. Nerves are the same, the C5 nerve, the C8 nerve. When we talk about dysfunction of a nerve, it's called radiculopathy. In general, radiculopathy should be a C5 radiculopathy, a C6 radiculopathy, not a C5-6 radiculopathy. And you'll see that a lot in EMGs and other studies, but it's really important to recognize that a nerve is just one number associated with it. So that is kind of tying all those structures together. And again, this is a very beautiful illustration putting everything together. You don't see all the nerve stuff here, but one of the things you notice is that the vertebral bodies themselves strap together. Here's a disc here, here's the vertebral body, here's that foramen right there that the nerve would come out. These structures together allow for flexion, extension, turning your head, a lot of complicated motions that permit your spine to move in the neck and give you a lifetime worth of neck range of motion, all while trying to protect the spinal cord and spinal nerves that run right down the center of that. So that is the anatomy in a nutshell of the cervical spine.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it informative. If you've enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas for future content, we'd welcome them in the comment section below.